Star Wars Time Show. Matt and Nick return after a few Han Solo type of shows, and they have Maul on their minds again. They'll highlight his 10 greatest moments so far in anticipation of his return in Shadow Lord. Punch it, Chewie. Hey now, everybody! Welcome back to the Star Wars Time Show, and look who's back. That's right. Finally made time for young Nick. I've been pissing on our Mondays because I either don't want to work or you're taking advantage of the weather and hitting the slopes here in Ohio. Not that they're really slopes, they're glorified hills, but I am happy to have him back today. The show's always more fun when I got young Nick, so... I've been really spewing some hot air these past 2 weeks, my friend, breaking down trailers without you, unfortunately, and sometimes it's too much, Matt, and it's been voted on by the users, because I was telling Nick, our little pre-records are doing pretty darn well for the Star Wars Time Show. I mean, they still don't do numbers that I think we deserve, but they're actually pulling in a decent amount of views. So Nick's back. He's going to juice our algo for us. But we've got some Star Wars stuff to talk about today. You know, there's always time for Star Wars time. At one point in time, we were considering rebranding, but I've gotten lazy, and so I'm not so much sure on that. And we do have some actual Star Wars coming out in April. Hell, in March, Nick, we're going to have the first issue of the Maul comic, so hopefully we'll tackle that on the show. And then we've been discussing how we're going to pick apart, break down, deep dive into the 5-week launch window of Maul Shadow Lord. So there's a good chance, depending on Nick's schedule, that we'll be coming back doing live breakdowns on Wednesday evenings when Maul is in season. And then we'll just kind of sit and wait and bide our time until The Mandalorian and Grogu hits theaters. We got that trailer last week. Still didn't show a ton of what might actually be going on with the overarching plot, but I think it showed off the type of humor it's going for, how Din and Grogu are going to be the stars, and how the two are probably going to get separated for a period of time in the movie, which is probably a good thing for those two, especially Grogu and, you know, people like Nick that think Grogu needs to do a bit more than just be comic relief and cooing and cawing and making noises. So what we have for you today is, as we lead up to the release of Maul Shadow Lord, we kind of want to honor the former Dark Lord of the Sith, now reformed crime syndicate lord, Maul. So our special segment today is going to be Maul's 10 greatest moments of all time. Now, these aren't necessarily going to be ranked. We're approaching them through a chronological type of deal. But don't worry, those of you that demand rankings, you need to know the top this, top that. We will be revealing our personal top 3 Maul moments after we go through his 10 best, 10 most memorable, whatever you want to call it. So that's what we got going on today. But as always, to kick off the show, to warm us up, to get us primed, we've got Ask Us Anything. That's right, we do it every week. You just got to be following us on our socials, Instagram, Discord, YouTube. Look for the prompt. We'll ask the question. You then have to put in your own questions that we will gladly answer, as long as it won't get us arrested in this day and age of espionage and surveillance type of media going across the world like none other because of AI. So here we go, Nick. We got a few questions, some Star Wars, some personal preferences. You never know what the fans will be throwing at you, but we do appreciate them playing along. So let me go ahead and get those screens pulled up, and we will tackle these questions, and then we'll roll right into this week's segment. Like I said, the Maul's 10 greatest moments in Star Wars. Not that it would be in Star Trek, but we just had to clarify, in Star Wars. It covers his live action appearances and his animated appearances. So don't worry. We have all Maul covered.
That's right.
All right. Let's go ahead and switch these screens around, or at least pretend that my buttons are going to work. Yep, sure
Yeah.
shit did not. So,
Hey, I can read out the questions and then we can answer them if
all
that
right.
helps.
I've got them
All
for
right.
you, buddy. Here we go. First question coming from NASCAR Talk with Jack Sabo. Are all seasons of Rebels a must watch, or is it fine to watch the last few where it gets good?
That's a good question. I mean, I guess it really depends on if you're watching with the intention of like, let me just get all of the information I need for the Ahsoka like show, like Ahsoka season 1 and 2. If that's the case, then I would say you can really start when Thrawn comes in, or like see if you can like pick out the episodes within the show that are
So that'd be
really like
season
focused
3
on.
for people
Yeah.
keeping score.
Yeah. So, you know, pick out those episodes if you want to, or watch season 3 and season 4 if that's all you're interested in. But I mean, there's a ton of good content. I mean, we've both watched all of Rebels multiple times, and I think that as a 4 season show, like it keeps things pretty tight. It does a really good job of building the characters, specifically of Kanan and Ezra and Hera and Sabine. Like obviously Zeb and Chopper are there too, but you know they're kind of secondary characters to the primary cast. Um, but yeah, I mean, I would say if you're talking about a must watch for Ahsoka, seasons 3 and 4 when Thrawn comes in. But if you're a Star Wars fan, it's all a must watch.
Yeah, I guess I'll kind of take that angle. I mean, he's not wrong. I'd argue towards the end of season 2, you'd want to dip in because that's kind of when Maul comes back into the fray and some crazy shit happens with Vader and Ahsoka that gets followed up on in later seasons with the World Between Worlds. But like Nick's saying, I mean, I'm someone that would 100% recommend you got to start with the original season 1. Hell, there was even like 4 or 5 shorts that came out before that if you were, you really wanted to deep dive, really brush up on Rebels, you'd have to catch those as well. But I feel like as good as season 3 and 4 are, I wonder if you'd get the same level of emotional payoff if you skipped season 1 and 2 and kind of seeing how the bonds form between Ezra and his master Kanan, and between Ezra and Sabine, and really Ezra and the Ghost Crew in general, because Ezra was kind of the misfit. He was the abandoned child that they picked up on Lothal just through circumstance, and then things blossom from there. So I do think you get a lot more meat if you watch all of season 1, season 2 before it kicks into, like Nick said, the prime of Rebels, which is most definitely season 3 and 4. So you got some homework, NASCAR Talk. I'd say do the right thing and start at season 1. All right, yeah. Nick, good one there. Next question is coming from Baron's Black Series. He must be a Catholic. He's asking, if you participated in Lent, what would you give up, young Nick?
So when I was an actively practicing Catholic in my youth, I mean, Lent was pretty easy in New Orleans, right? Because it's like, oh, you can't eat meat on Fridays. And we're like, crawfish, bro, seafood. Yeah. Like, we're in the place. It was no big deal. But I would give up soft drinks. Because, like, back then, like, when I was a kid and still in school and stuff like that, I was drinking soft drinks a little bit more frequently. Now I don't drink soft drinks nearly at all. Like, I think I've had a Coke, like, once in the past 2 years, maybe. So that would be my go-to was soft drinks.
Yeah, I'm a confirmed Catholic, but I can honestly say I don't think I ever took Lent seriously. I may be like, oh, I'm not going to say shit or something like that, and I probably still did, knowing me. I mean, if anyone has listened to the show for a long time, while I do think it's gotten much less explicit in our older ages, but I can't help myself. That's just how I'm made to talk, and I think it makes me sound real, an OG. So, but for me, I mean, if we're talking right now, I would give up the Star Wars time show. Take a 40-day hiatus. I mean, seriously, I think I need, there's some changes I'm trying to make in my life, so I think I would probably use that to force a disconnect from my vape pen. I'm very close to letting the vape pen go and just getting back to OG ways of consuming the flour. So I think that I would use this as kind of the cold turkey no pens movement.
There you go. There you go. It is tough to get rid of the pen, right? It's just so convenient.
It's so fucking easy, man. Like it's just
yeah.
It's like I feel. I mean, it's completely legal where I'm at, but now that I have to like dry oven vape flour, it still has a smell to it. So I'm like I'm hiding in my basement. I'm lighting candles and spraying stuff. And,
I feel like a kid again.
I feel like a tool, but the vape pens, like, listen, and I don't want anyone to feel bad about it, and really my reasons for stopping aren't this, but the science is out on those things. Like we really have no idea what we're inhaling when we heat that oil. I mean, it could be the ceramics in there, the plastics, the metals. But it's more me, man. I think it is because of how easy it is. I would find myself reaching for it more than I needed to. But it also, because it is so concentrated, I would do it and immediately feel like my heart was ready for a workout. Like I needed to go running or something just to match the intensity of my heartbeat. Just sitting there on a couch, it's like, and I'm not trying to feel that way. I don't want to feel like I just fucking raised my heart rate to 100, 110 beats per minute. So overly long answer, probably divulged too much, but there you go, Spencer.
There you go.
All right, this one's coming from EKU Rory here, friend of the show. Mm-hmm. Best flavor of potato chips, young Nick. Are you a potato chip guy, first and foremost?
Okay. I used to be, and he said potato chips. So this Doritos don't count. The all the corn chips are out. So this is just potato chips we're talking about here. So if we're just talking about potato chips, I think that like a class, there's nothing that quite hits the same as like a classic barbecue potato chip.
Oh, like, no, you're a barbecue guy. No.
I just feel like, that was the flavor that we would always have at the house. Like we would always have like the black Lay's barbecue bag, that was the go-to potato chip. So that might be mine.
All right. I wish I could ask some clarifying questions here, because if we're allowed to use dip, like hell of a good dip, plain, ruffled plain chips and hell of a good dip that is some crack right there. And I'm not a big potato chip guy. Like if I'm eating fried potatoes, I want French fries, or I want twice baked potatoes, scalloped potatoes, things like that. I've never been a huge potato chip guy. I'm more of a Dorito connoisseur, if you will. Tortilla chips are my favorite, but if we're just doing flavored chips and I got to play by those rules, I would probably say sour cream and onion, because then it kind of gives me what I get from hell of a good dip without the dip.
Yeah.
Barbecue's one I could never come around to. It's always like, I don't know about this. Like, I just don't know. I don't know. Yeah. I like barbecue sauce on chicken, on burgers, on fries, but not on a chip for some reason.
Yeah, no, I get it. Totally get it. But yeah, that was our go-to in the household from when I was a kid.
Heck yeah.
It always sticks with me.
I like kettle chips. I mean, just a salt and vinegar or spicy dill pickles. Those are pretty damn good if you're having a sandwich as well. So,
yeah. The kettles are the best for sure.
Damn it! Now you're getting me hungry. I just had we've got this fantastic sandwich shop in town called Buckeye City Sammy's, and they just had a special, Nick, called the McBeefy. It was kind of they're playing a Big Mac, but it was like a half pound of roast beef, shredded lettuce, twice melted American cheese, Kool-Aid pickles, and sliced onion on like a toasted piece of bread, and it was so damn good. Like, I've never eaten Big Macs, but this, I don't give a shit if it's a Big Mac or not. This was a fantastic sandwich. All right.
Yeah.
Next question coming from Nova Toymation. Here comes your Star Wars question, fans. Yes, there is always time for Star Wars time, and here's the proof right here. After Ahsoka S2, do you think Disney will create more live-action shows or only movies, young Nick?
That's it's a really good question, right? And I've given my opinion on what I think the best way forward is. In my opinion, I think that they should stick to live action movies, animated TV shows. That was the formula that we kind of got when Lucas was still running things. Obviously, towards the end, when we got to the end of the prequel trilogy, we just, we finished up with the live action, went right into animated, and only had animated from there. I think that what is likely to happen is that we will still see some live action TV, given who's running Lucasfilm now. Like Filoni is a TV guy. Like Filoni started as a TV guy. He started specifically as an animated TV guy. And I think that's where he feels most comfortable. And that's obvious. That's obviously like how he got to the position that he is in Lucasfilm now too. Like they're not putting him as the head of Lucasfilm because he put out a bunch of banger movies. Like Dave Filoni's the head of Lucasfilm now because of the TV shows that he made.
Who's his co-head? What's her name? Is it Lin-Wen Brennan or something like that?
Yeah, I think that's her name. Yeah, Lin-Wen Brennan. She's obviously a little bit more on the financial side of things. So
she's probably closer to what Kathleen. I mean, Kathleen did everything. It was just her. Where it seems,
Kathleen was both of them kind of combined.
This one is I would say maybe closer to when George was around, where George was full on creative and he probably needed someone else to handle all the business stuff. And I think that's what we're going to get with Filoni and this other person. Sorry, we don't know her name. We're chauvinistic pigs.
I think you nailed it. I think you were correct on Lin-Wen Brennan. All right. But
yeah, man. I mean, it's tough because they have no roadmap at this point in time unless they're keeping it secret. Like the only things we know for sure that are concrete right now, we're gonna get Maul, we're gonna get Vision standalone, we're gonna get Mando and Grogu, we're gonna get Ahsoka season 2, and we're gonna get Starfighter. That is it in terms of what is on Lucasfilm and Disney's docket for the Star Wars property. Everything else they've discussed in the past, it's still in that mega holding pattern. I mean, I can't remember if you were with me a few weeks ago, but one of the screenwriters for Rogue Squadron piped up, and he's like, "Oh yeah, no, the script's been done forever, and I thought it was great, Top Gun in space, but we haven't heard shit for years from Lucasfilm."
I saw something on that one too, and they were like, "This." It was like a very specific thing for Patty. And when Patty dropped off, they were like, okay, we're, not going to.
And it's just, and then we had the Star Wars Celebration where they announced the 3 movies, the Rey movie, the Dawn of the Jedi, and the Filoni crossover. Again, those are all mostly dead at this point in time. The Hunt for Ben Solo, completely written, took 2 years. I mean, Soderbergh was out bitching about it again last week. He's like, yeah, motherfucker, we did 2.5 years of free work for Disney, and they just fucking told us to eat shit. So I don't think they have plans, man. I mean, I think kind of what you've said in the past, it does feel like they're waiting to see what these movies do. And if the movies hit again and make them the type of cashola they want, then yeah, we're probably back into the movie zone. And I don't think Nick's plan is bad. The one thing I worry about, by just going back to animated being TV only, what I worry about are properties like Ahsoka season 2. I mean, is Dave planning to wrap that up at the end of this season? I doubt it. Is there supposed to be another season of Ahsoka, or is this supposed to be the crossover film that now is also in limbo? So I just, it's like, I hate that it feels like they're waiting on money and fan reaction before they start planning for the future. And we know what that means. That it's just going to delay everything at this point in time.
Yeah, I think that I called this out so long ago, and like when I called it out, it was one of those moments where I was like, but everything seems okay now. And I was like, there's too much Star Wars content, and it's going to lead to a place to where everybody gets tired of it and it's going to go away. And we're right on the precipice. We're right there. We're right there. Like, it's actually been really good that we haven't had a ton of Star Wars content now in a time period where everybody's pissed at everything. So like, no matter what the fuck you put out, it's going to get shit on for the most part, especially in this realm, especially in Star Wars world. Like, it's just really hard to produce content now. And for a long-lasting franchise, that's not going to piss people off. And like and here's the one that has still managed to fucking do it, and it's been around for a long time. It's Jurassic Park. And what does Jurassic Park do? They do movies like every 3-4 years, And then they have animated shows running. They have their animated shows on Netflix. And every time a Jurassic Park movie comes out, like, the critics shit on it all the time because they're like dinosaurs. But then the fans fucking love it. It makes $1 billion. People go home, watch the animated series. There's 2 animated series now for Jurassic. Like, I think that's the safest formula. But yeah, it's a tough spot to be in because it's hard. It would be hard if you're Lin Wen and Filoni coming in and then they're like, here's the slate that we've already approved. Y'all have to do this now. So, it kind of probably feels good for them to be like, okay, we're coming in with a clean slate. We can really make the decisions here.
Yeah, and that's a great point. We were still operating under Iger's Disney, and now his replacement in. There's been a complete shuffle both at Disney and Lucasfilm now. So you got a lot of, I want to say at least fresh places at the table. I know Dave's been there forever, and so has Linwin, but they have not been in the positions to make the decisions they're about to start making. Same with the guy who took over for Bob. So you could argue, Nick, there might be openings now for that hunt for Ben Solo. Maybe Dave says, you know what, fuck it. I liked what I saw here. Screw Bob. Bob's gone. Hey, new guy, are you going to give us the money to get this done? But a lot of this is going to hinge on May 22nd. If Mandu and Grogu comes out and it solos in terms of box office numbers, I don't think they're going to cancel Starfighter, but I think they're going to further step away from Star Wars and really start to think about what the hell have we gotten ourselves into here and how can we reboot this shit and actually get people excited to where they're lining up to buy tickets to go see these movies again.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we may get there. The new CEO of Disney is he is currently like the head of the parks division. So he was never really in the movie side of it. Like, he was always really focused on the parks. So he may come in and be like, hey, look, y'all are the experts here. Like, you guys have been
figure it out.
Like, I will defer to you in terms of content decisions. I don't know what Bob's background was before he was CEO, if he was in like the media side of it, like if he was more focused on like the film and TV side of Disney. But I know for a fact that this guy, Josh D'Amaro, was the fucking parks dude. So I think that they made the right choice because that's where Disney made its bang for its buck. Like, it was the parks. Like, once the parks got big, then everything kind of spun, from that. Like, you have parks all over the world now. The TV station and movies are doing well. So I'm hoping that he comes in with an eye that is more around like, or like an approach that's less, interfering than Bob was.
Right. Like he's concerned with more than just raising the stock price, which that's how most CEOs get. And that's why you see a lot of knee bending this day and age in this country. It's like, yeah, hey, there's horrible shit going on, but we'll go see this movie premiere and give you little trinkets to make you feel special and things like that. So hopefully not. And like Nick said, this guy's coming from the parks. Maybe he's the guy that had the idea like, hey, you know what? Galaxy's Edge probably shouldn't just be sequel focused. Why don't we try to loop in the fucking original trilogy or, some prequel stuff? So who knows? Yeah. Long-winded answer. I don't even think we did answer it, Nova, but we're going to say maybe at this point in time to sum up that conversation. All right, and the last question this week, we know League, she's over there in NYC. Where do you put all the snow? Well, League, if you could, scoop it up and shuttle it over here to Central Ohio, I'd love to throw it on the hills because they are starting to show brown and green, which is never a good sign if you're into snow sports. So we will take it on Mount Mansfield. All right, so that wraps this week's Ask Us Anything. Like I said, we do it every week to kick off the show. Sometimes it's a little short, sometimes it's medium, sometimes it's a little long, but we're always here to answer your questions, so make sure to follow us on socials, turn on those notifications, look for the prompts, and get those questions in. Even if we don't answer your question the week you write it, don't worry, it is going into our backlog, and we will address it at some point in time. That just means you always got to watch the show to see when your question will be answered. All right, so let's go ahead and transition into our main topic this week. This is Maul's 10 greatest moments in all of Star Wars. It's kind of, think of them as maybe there's going to be some moments where you're like, ooh, yeah, it was like kind of a visual spectacle. But a lot of these we kind of came to an understanding like it might not have been the most visual thing or memorable. Well, yeah, it is memorable or flashy type of moment, but it's a huge moment for either the character of Maul or Star Wars in general. So that's kind of how we chose this list. And what you're going to see here, again, these are the 10 greatest moments in Maul's career. So we're actually going to we're going to do it in a chronological fashion. This is not, when we look at number one here as we get into the segment, it's not, yes, this is the number one moment or this is the worst Maul moment. It's just, it's one of the great moments that happened first, and then we'll follow it up in a chronological order. And like I said, at the end, we will also give our top 5 for those that actually demand some sort of rankings on a show like this. Okay, so here we go. Maul's 10 greatest moments, at least through Star Wars Rebels, because we've got a whole new series coming up, which is going to flesh out more of Maul's crime syndicate era. We've got his prequel era, we've got a bit of his crime syndicate era that's going to be fleshed out, and then we have his OT adjacent era to talk about. So without further ado, here we go, young Nick. Maul's 10 greatest moments. Number one, it's for anyone that was alive when the prequels were coming out, especially the Phantom Menace and the first trailer hit, you're going to remember this quote, and that's why it 100% makes this list. At last, we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last, we will have revenge. And, Nick, I know that was in one of the trailers, and you just saw his face, and you're like, what the hell? Who the hell is this? Oh, my God, he's with, look, it looks like a Palpatine at the time. I think we called him. We didn't know he was going to be called Darth Sidious. And it was just, you never saw a character like this in the original trilogy, at least not hanging out with the Emperor or soon-to-be Emperor or a Darksider. So when we got this moment, it instantly stood out, and it instantly kind of sold Maul as the new Vader type. Like, okay, this is what we were dealing with before the rise of Darth Vader. But it kind of established Maul as a weapon of revenge, almost like an animal. All he cared about was like, hey, let's reveal ourselves. Let's get this edge. So, Nick, I mean, do you feel like Maul was ever more Sith in this particular moment? Or do you feel like this was just the beginning of how him being used as a tool by Sidious?
Yeah, that's such a good question, right? Because the initial meeting and then the in TPM, like you really do feel like, okay, well, we got introduced to and then extroduced to this character within one film. Like clearly he's gone. So like, I do think that when you think about his like, him being used as more of a weapon of revenge, I think that was definitely the intention when you really listen to, or when you learn more about Palpatine and like his ultimate goal, because even from when he had Maul and he Maul was a part of his crew, like he was like, well, you're like, I know that eventually I'm going to get rid of you. Like this is the kid that I'm going after.
Expendable.
Like that's my ultimate goal. So he was literally nothing more than a blunt object to throw at the Jedi in order to set these series of events in place to have Anakin fall into Palpatine's hands. Was he ever more Sith than this moment is a really good question, right? Because it's like you can really dig deep into it. It's like, what is a Sith? Like, what is the ethos of a Sith?
It's fucking hate Jedi, right? I mean, more than I do, but isn't that kind of their thing? I mean, they're exiled Jedi that hate Jedi and want Jedi.
Yeah, from the very, very beginnings of the Sith, when it was just like the first schism that comes out, and you have the Dark Jedi that break off from the original Jedi who founded the Force on Tython. It was really like like the Sith were looking for unfettered access to the power that they discovered, right? Like they were like the original Sith were a part of the group that had found the Force on Tython. So they were like, when the Jedi, now known as the Jedi, started to put like limits on like, oh, well, we don't want to do this. Like, this isn't something that we want to exclude. This is not how we should use this power. They were like, well, why are you putting all of these bounds on me? And that's kind of like what led to the schism. So from a purely like, you know, was this the most Sith he was ever? I think that that's probably it, because like his intention at that time was like, I'm in this, like he was still in the mindset of like, I'm in this to take down the dude above me, and then I'm going to be the Sith Lord, right? Like I'm going to be the Dark Lord of the Sith. And I think that after this moment, he really did kind of switch to, it was still a weapon of revenge, but for himself, right? Like he was doing everything for himself. So I think that that was a little bit outside of just that like standard Sith angle that you would typically take.
Yeah, it just either way, this moment can't be denied for Maul. It's what pulled fans in to begin with. It was our first exposure to him. I mean, you could probably do the scene where he's revealed to the Nemoidians, and there's like, now there are two of them. So it just, I mean, it's a great moment. I will always remember seeing him in the trailer and instantly being like, holy shit, I cannot wait to see what this character can do. And we were not disappointed outside of the shock that he was eliminated by the end of this movie by Kenobi. All right. Next moment on the list of Maul's 10 greatest moments. We're moving in chronological order. So it's a no-brainer, my friends. It's not when he pops out and fights Anakin on Tatooine. It is the iconic moment in the Theed, in the hangar, as the heroes are gearing up to enact their plan to retake Naboo. We get the hallway reveal, the ignition of the double-bladed lightsaber, which we had never seen before. We didn't know he was going to do that. I mean, when he fights Qui-Gon the first time, he just uses it singularly. So when that happens, he drops the cloak, Jay Will's Duel of Fates theme kicks in, and then we're off to the races. I mean, it's the first time you ever saw Jedi together fighting a Sith, and a Sith holding his own, a Sith doing acrobatics, flipping that damn bow staff around like a professional ninja. And, you know, Nick, it was arguably one of the most iconic villain entrances in the entire prequel trilogy. So for you, I mean, yeah, this moment deserves to be here. But do you consider this to be one of the, if not the greatest single lightsaber entrance in Star Wars history in terms of, like, hey, let's get it on?
Yeah, I think it is. I think that this is the moment like where things really change in terms of expectation from the franchise and how these battles are presented, right? Like if you compare the entrance of Maul in this scene to what we saw in the original trilogy, it's like night and day. Like, you know, the battles were very plotting, very slow, very intentional. Like, you know, I don't want to say you could tell that they were choreographed, because you can tell that the, you know, fight between Maul and Kenobi and Jin are, you know, they're all choreographed too. But it's just like the intensity at which those battles were fought. I think that that was just a huge turning point for the series. And I think that it really changed the way that people, one, perceived that character, and two, perceived how lightsabers should be used in Star Wars moving forward.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it was one of the biggest moments, not only of the, you know, of Maul, but also just the franchise in general. Just massive moment for sure.
Yeah, I mean, listen, anyone that's even a casual fan, if they hear the ha 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 ba 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 ba, I guarantee their mind takes them back right to this moment where he flips the hood, drops it, lights, and then gives that grin like, yes, I'm finally going to get to do what I've been wanting to do for how many years now, training with Sidious. I'm finally going to get revenge. I'm going to take out one of these Jedi. I'm going to take out both of these Jedi. And it really is. It is, in terms of just a lightsaber entrance in Star Wars, I can't really think of any more that are as iconic as this moment. So 100% a top Maul moment of all time. Moving right along, and yeah, we're staying right in the Phantom Menace. And this is a big one for multiple reasons, not because it just showed that Maul wasn't just an animal. He was a skilled duelist. He is skilled with that dual-bladed lightsaber, because he takes out a freaking Jedi Master. And really, this moment, the reason it's so important, and it is such a, you know, iconic moment both for Maul but also the franchise in general, is because it reshapes the saga. This is, and you know, Dave's talked about this. I don't know if George has ever said it, but having Maul kill Qui-Gon essentially cemented Anakin's fate to fall to the dark side.
Yes.
With Qui-Gon gone, Obi-Wan became a master to an apprentice too early. He didn't want to do it. He was just doing it to honor his fallen master's last words. And Anakin ultimately lost the one Jedi who really got him, understood him, and probably could have navigated him as a 10-year-old to make better choices, to you know, maybe even take him back to his mom to kind of nip that shit in the bud, because that's who Qui-Gon was. So it was kind of a butterfly effect moment for Star Wars, Anakin in particular, Obi-Wan in particular, and obviously the rest of the galaxy that had to suffer due to Anakin's poor choices. So again here, Nick, do you believe if Maul never killed Qui-Gon, does Anakin ever become Vader?
No, he doesn't. Like, I think that, you know, as you were mentioning, Dave kind of weighed in on this particular question, and he essentially said, like, he was the father, Qui-Gon was the father that Anakin needed. And when he went down, he left Anakin with a brother, and Anakin didn't really need a brother. Like, Anakin needed a father figure that he never had. And I think that if Qui-Gon sticks around, he's able to really, well, one, he's already kind of functioning, you know, not outside of the Jedi Order necessarily, but like he is intentionally not a master, because he's like, look, for me to be a master, I need to, like, you know, go along with all the other schlock that y'all are saying that I know isn't true. Like, I already have a specific way of training this kid that I want to, you know, put forward that I think will be better for him than the typical Jedi training. The council had already said that they didn't want him anyway. So he's essentially like accepted to become a Jedi after the one person that could train him properly is dead. And now they're putting him through the same stuff that they did everybody else. And like, they're not giving him the attention that he needs, and they don't have somebody there to really recognize the damage that was in this kid that led to his fall, and Qui-Gon would have prevented that. So I mean, as Dave said, I do think that if Qui-Gon was still alive, we never see Vader. You know, I think that Palpatine ultimately still tries to make his plan come to fruition, but just with a different apprentice at his side.
Shmi, he would have went and got Shmi and turned her to the dark side. Yeah,
That's
man.
right.
I mean, it's Qui-Gon. You're right. You're so right about Qui-Gon. I mean, he was a master, but he refused a seat on the council because he didn't believe in their bullshit, which reflected very much so the feelings of Dooku, his master. And thanks to Tales of the Jedi, I think we got a much better picture of who Dooku was and why he ultimately made the choice to leave and align himself with Sidious. And you can also ask yourself that if Qui-Gon doesn't die, does Dooku do what he does? Because it's really after Dooku or Qui-Gon dies and Dooku sees that the Order still is not listening to him about the dark side threat that he's like, fuck you guys, I'm out. Like, this ain't working here. You got my boy killed because you didn't believe them and the Return of the Sith, and you haven't believed me for years, Mace Windu. So, like I said, I mean, it really was a massive butterfly effect for the prequels, Star Wars in general, the Jedi Order, the Sith, and Anakin. So, major moment. Maul was involved. That's why it makes this list. All right, the fourth one we're going to talk about, and it happens soon after this moment. This is when Maul was maybe feeling himself a little too much. He just took out a Jedi Master, and now he's been toying with his Padawan, literally toying with him like a cat does in its prey. And, you know, you could just see it, Nick, the level of overconfidence on Maul's face, the smirk he gives to Kenobi, you know, the leap he does, and then the finishing blow where and then you also see the shock of like, oh shit, what the fuck? I just got cut in half. So, you know, he paid for screwing around with Obi-Wan because of his level of hubris in this moment. So, hear me out on this one, just as a kind of a discussion point. Now that we know what we know happens with Maul and he lives and whatnot, do you believe this was the moment Maul actually became more interesting? Because his dying, in quotes, essentially freed him from just being the silent assassin Sith that Sidious was kind of using him as.
Yeah, I 100% agree that this is definitely what made him more interesting. Not only because you get to really take time, like George got to really take time and kind of figure out what this character's journey is now, right? It almost felt like the time leading up to and his time in TPM was like, I just need a body to throw at this problem, like at this scene. And like character needs to look cool, character needs to fight cool, character does not need to have any level of depth. Like there was like Maul was a red-faced dude with some horns and he fought real good, and that's all that he was in TPM.
Right. I mean, how many lines of dialogue total did you think
like
you
two.
had?
I think it was 2 lines, and it's like, and Ray Park didn't even speak those lines. They had somebody else dub those lines in, like, which is crazy. But yeah, I mean, once he comes back in, Clone Wars, like that is really where you see Maul develop into one of the most interesting villains and characters in Star Wars history, because it's like what you get to see, like what happens what happens to a Sith that has been discarded. And he's not the only one that's ever been discarded, right? Like the Sith are brutal and absolutely careless group of beings in the galaxy. Like, and now you get to see like what happens when you are at the precipice of becoming literally he was one guy away from being,
he was one of two. He was one of two.
Yeah.
Or two of two, I guess.
Yeah, he was number 2 of 2. And all he had to do was take out number 1, and he is the guy. He is the guy. And now you get to see what happens to somebody who was at that position of power and then falls all the way down. And that's definitely one of the most interesting storylines that we have for a character in Star Wars at this point. So
I'm sorry, I'm sitting here laughing to myself because I'm reminding myself of the Earl Knotts parody of the prequels. And when Maul's introduced, he's introduced as regional manager Darth Maul.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's what Vader ultimately becomes when he becomes Vader. He's like he's regional manager of like Laser Base or something like that. So.
Yeah, right. Like he doesn't even rank over Grand Moff Tarkin. Like Tarkin's like
meet regional manager Darth Maul. I gotta watch that shit again. It's so dumb but perfect. All right, so let's move a bit outside of the Phantom Menace to start tackling some more of Maul's top moments. We've covered 4 of them so far. So the next one, Nick kind of hint on a bit, and that was the reveal that he was still alive. I mean, listen, just from a fan perspective, this moment makes the list because it was so damn shocking. I remember watching this and I'm like, what? Maul is alive? And not only is he alive, Nick, but he turned himself into a mechanic spider, and he literally was insane, like batshit crazy nuts. Like he lost his mind. He was no longer Darth Maul. He wasn't even Maul. He was this new thing, Spider Maul, and he was just so frantic and lost. His brother Savage finds him literally broken and insane on Lotho Minor. And like Nick teased, it was a bold storytelling swing on the part of Lucas. I mean, he was like, yeah, so what we killed him? So what it's been a few years, maybe even a decade. Let's bring him back. But if you think about that choice with hindsight, now I know you're like, yeah, it was awesome. I mean, look what we got. Maul became, in my opinion, a top 5, top 3 Star Wars character at this point in time. It definitely, when we're talking about villains. But think about that gamble. I mean, bringing him back, if it didn't work the way it did, Nick, it could have been a very cheap move, and fans would be like, what the fuck? Come on, George, what are you talking about? But like you've discussed, it not only did it work for the character, but it actually elevated Maul. So do you think in terms of the resurrections we've now seen in Star Wars, that this is the best overall resurrection?
Yeah, I think so. Because you're not resurrecting a character whose story had been told, right? Like we knew nothing. Like with Palpatine, like we knew intimately Palpatine's story, not only through the movies but also through books and other narratives that had been written about that character. So when you bring him back, you're like, well, like this motherfucker is gone. Like we've already seen so much of him. So like when you bring Maul back, it was a character that everybody was already like, oh man, I wish we had more of this. Like, I wish there was more of this character because he was so beloved in such a short window of screen time. So definitely think that this is the best resurrection. And it's all because you killed a character that had an entire life's worth of story to tell. And it became, like I said, it became one of the most unique Star Wars stories that we've ever seen from an individual character. And it also became one of the most interesting because it was that, like, we've always asked, like, we want to have a show about Vader. We want to see the inner workings of Vader. And I think the reason
They're still
that we
not
want
listening,
that is because,
Nick. They're still not listening.
yeah, still not listening. But like the reason we want that is because we're like, but look what you did with Maul.
Mm-hmm.
Like it may not have been a whole show that was completely focused on him. Now we are getting that, but that's what we got. Like we got to see like one of the coolest characters we had ever seen in Star Wars really get fleshed out in an impressive way over a long span of time. So like it was definitely one of the smartest moves that Lucas made in that prequel era of storytelling. And it has obviously given us, you know, decades of storytelling around like with a character that was masterfully brought back to life by George Lucas, Dave Filoni, and Sam Witwer. I mean, like that, you cannot talk about Maul without talking about the job that Sam did to bring that character back to life. So just fantastic stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you hit all the nails on the head there. It's amazing to think this character was written off script, gone from Star Wars in '99, but almost a decade or so later, he's brought back, and now a decade after that, he's getting his own goddamn series. So that just goes to show how well the fandom ultimately received the resurrection. I mean, in the end, you'd probably ask fans now, and they'd be like, well, what if Maul never came back? They'd probably start crying. They'd be like,
yeah,
what do you mean Maul would never come back? Well, that's the life we lived. As us old Star Wars fans, that's where we were at. We were like, man, look at that shiny new toy, and oh shit, it's gone already. Well, okay, he was cool while it lasted, but I guess that's all we get to see of him. And then we get the old guy, Dooku, and then ultimately we know where it was going to go with Anakin. But yeah, I mean, Maul being resurrected has now, as Nick said, through Witwer, Filoni, and Lucas, has now become a character that is so big, so adored for whatever reason, you know, whether you love his evilness or just the way he's written or, you know, the way he died, he's now getting another series. So I think that pretty much confirms that, yeah, that was the best resurrection yet. All right, let's go to moment number 6. If you're just tuning in here, we're covering Maul's 10 greatest moments in a chronological order here. So we're not saying the resurrection is better than, you know, Duel of the Fates. We'll save that for the end when we rank our top 3 moments overall. But coming in at number 4, it's kind of a follow-up to after Savage finds Maul. All right, he finds him in this. He's broken. He's broken physically. He's broken mentally. But Savage takes him back to Dathomir, and we have Mother Talzin get involved. She restores his mind. She gives him proper legs, although they're still not the legs we see by the time that Siege of Mandalore, but he doesn't look like a goddamn spider anymore. They even give him a horn cut, as we call it in the Zabrak Society. They file those damn horns down a little bit after he let him get a little out of control when he was not of his right mind. So, Nick, this is big not just because Talzin restores Maul, gives him his body parts back and his mind, but it also introduced to fans the concept that, okay, we've got these motherfucking witches, and on this planet Dathomir, they share it with the Zabrak race, which is all male, and they kind of live in a symbiotic relationship to where the Zabraks take care of the sisters and the sisters take care of the Zabraks. And we didn't know that before. We didn't know the Zabraks, came from Dathomir. We didn't know they were linked in with the Night Sisters. And really, it also showed just how powerful the Night Sisters are. It's not that they are full-on Force users, but they can definitely tap into some form of arcane power that allows them to fix minds, control minds, resurrect the dead even, and in this case, fix Spider-Boy's lower torso to actually make him bipedal again versus being, a crustacean. So you could also argue this is what allows Maul to transform from just being a Sith tool assassin into an independent villain, his own master, his own mastermind, if you will. He's no longer just Sidious's weapon. He becomes his own mastermind to start enacting whatever evil shit he wants to do. And we see where it goes. This is kind of how he gets into the whole crime syndicate deal. So, Nick, do you think after this happened, did Maul become more dangerous after he lost the Sith title in this new phase of his journey than when he was working with Sidious?
Yeah, I think that when he was with Sidious, he was kind of just he's a chained dog, right? Like he's just he's an attack animal. And he really was just just sent out, go do this duty, like you said, just an assassin almost, in a way that was almost disrespectful of the title that he had, right? Like he's the second Sith in the duo. He is the two in the rule of two, but he was literally treated just like, hey, go fucking take these guys out. But the reason that he became more dangerous is because he became more focused. And you find out that while Maul does have this unhinged side to him, that when he really gets worked up, he just is really hard to deal with. He's a dangerous foe, but he also has a mind that is just really easy to break and bend. But when he's focused, he's very dangerous. That's why you see the formation, when he starts to work with Criminal Underground and essentially takes over Mandalore, all of these things that he's able to do when he keeps his focus and he has a goal in mind. I would say that he was more dangerous, even though, at the time when you see him in TPM, you're like, well, how could he be more dangerous than this? He just took out a Jedi Master and nearly took out the Apprentice as well, by himself. But I think danger is a little bit more than how well you swing a lightsaber. It is your cunning mind, and that's what really comes through towards the end, or towards the middle of his arc, is that cunning mind comes through, and you really get to see what he can do with it.
Yeah, he's more than just a raging beast. And you actually helped set up our number 7 moment here in this list of Maul's greatest moments, following a chronological order. And it's like Nick said, it was Maul's ability to form the Shadow Collective. And you got to think again what he had to do to get this done. Nick teased it again. He had to take over Death Watch, which he did. He got the Darksaber. He used Death Watch and all the beef they were having with the Duchess to, as Nick proclaimed, take over Mandalore. It's pretty impressive. Literally one guy, because I don't think he had a lot of help from Savage at this point in time, one guy was able to convince Mandalorians to take over their own goddamn planet, essentially. And we saw where that led him towards the end of the Siege of Mandalore. But he wasn't done there, Nick. He interfaced with the Black Sun, with the Pike Syndicate, other crime families like the Hutt. And he built a criminal empire that truly was so big, or getting so big and influential, that Sidious decided on his own, I need to go shut this shit down. And that's when he shows up. I forget where it was, but he shows up and takes on the brothers, ends up killing Savage. Wounding
Savage.
Maul and locking him up for a story that I believe was told in the books, where Gar Saxon and Rook Cass have to break him out and bring him back to Mandalore, and then we pick up the Siege of Mandalore thing. But this was kind of the moment when after getting his mind and his legs back and taking over Mandalore and bringing in this or creating a shadow collective between the crime syndicates. This is where he evolved into something brand new. He was no longer just a Sith animal or a Sith assassin. He was a Sith-trained crime lord, which is, again, a formidable foe to have on the galactic map. So much so that, as we just discussed, Sidious was like, this can't happen. This is good. Literally, it was such a problem. Sidious knew it was going to mess with his ultimate plan that he had to nip it in the bud early. And you could argue if Ahsoka was able to if Maul was able to get through to Ahsoka, he may have had enough wits about him and power with her to prevent the fall of Anakin and to prevent the rise of the Galactic Empire. And, again, that's just... So I'll ask you the question here. I know we're kind of going to get this version of Maul in an animated series now with the Shadow Collective, but do you think Maul at his best, when he was, a strategist and a tactician, do you think this potentially should have been a live-action series, or do you feel because Maul his prime has always been in animation that it works that we're sticking in that medium?
That's kind of how I feel, right? Like that's the Maul that we all know and love now came directly from animation, from Clone Wars to Rebels. Like that was where he became the character that we are really in love with and that everybody has respect for. So what and again, like if you make this a live action series, you now have to deal with the casting of it, which I think is difficult. Like, I don't think that you would cast Sam as the actor. Right. I mean, he could. Like, Sam is not just a voice actor. Sam has, been in live action TV shows and
they'd probably
like
try
that,
Ray. So. They went with him for Solo, but now he's pretty much untouchable with what he does on social media.
Yeah, it's a really tough spot to cast that role because it has to be physical. Like, it has to be that level of physicality that was shown to us in TPM, but you also know that Sam is Maul. Like Sam has become that character. So do you try to train him in that style of combat? I just don't think it's possible. And do you kind of do what you do with the Mandalorian, right? Like, do you just have other people play the body and then you have Sam fill in the voice somehow?
Give them all a helmet to make it easier.
Yeah. But I do think that it's better served in animation. Like that character, it pops so well in animation because just from the physical attributes, like the red coloration of the skin, the horns, the yellow Sith eyes, like the physicality of the fighting is so much easier to portray in animation. So I do think that it's better that we stuck this way. Would I have been pissed if they would have made a live action Maul? Maybe, because I do think it's just really hard to pull that off in a consistent manner that was presented to us through Clone Wars and Rebels.
Yeah, I mean, hell, if you just go back to the most recent Shadow Collective trailer, when they show off some of the action scenes with Maul, you're like, yeah, you probably could do that in live action, but it would not look as raw and as intense and as, vivid and punchy as it does in animation. So, speaking of your boy Din, were you like some of these other people that are all upset that his helmet was removed? I cannot understand this outrage. I'm like, listen, it's very clear that the Hutt twins take it off of him. It's not like he just pulls it off and shits away the threat of season 3 where he had to redeem himself. Again, media literacy, my friends. Media literacy.
Yeah, it's also like the movie's not even out yet. Like, just fucking wait.
Well, here's the other deal. Pedro Pascal wants paid. He doesn't want to just be a voice actor. He wants paid. So I guarantee his people are like, listen, yeah, we want to do the movie. He's barely going to be in it, but we need some helmetless action so Pedro can be seen by his fans.
Yeah. It's that's purely like a I need my face on camera because of my to reach a pay scale. Like,
yeah, it's like
that's
I'm
how
SAG bitch. I'm not a voice actor. Like I want I want points. I want everything as an actor. All right, getting off track here a little bit. Moving on to the eighth moment. great, and we're talking about Maul's 10 greatest moments in chronological order. We just talked about how he, started the Shadow Collective and was able to pull in all these different crime syndicates and essentially become the man. And I think Shadow Lord is going to show even more of that, and potentially how he ascends to the head of Crimson Dawn, which is where we find him in the Solo movie. But coming in at number 8, it is, in my opinion, some of the best, if not the best, Clone Wars storytelling we ever got. I mean, it is. Let's be real. The Siege of Mandalore arc stands on its own. I know there's other good arcs in the Clone Wars, such as the Umbara arc. People have, a lot of strong feelings about that. But when we really come down to it, gun to head, I don't think you can say there's a better arc than what we got in Siege of Mandalore. And it is. It's because of Maul. And more in particular, it's because of his duel with Ahsoka. Not only does it give us some of the best motion capture lightsaber choreo we've ever seen, but more importantly, the dialogue that we hear from Maul. We learn, as Nick was saying, again, he's not just this animal. There's a lot more to this character after he left the Sith Order and became his own villain and became his own, started becoming a crime syndicate lord. But even more so than the freaking Jedi Order itself, he knew what was coming. He could see Palpatine's plan. He could see it to the point where he knew Anakin was the key to everything. He knew Sidious's endgame before anyone else, and he tries to recruit Ahsoka. Now, we all know it was always going to fail, but in the Siege of Mandalore, in this duel, the conversation they have in this duel, it is clearly, this is the most layered version we have ever seen of Maul. We learned that, okay, yeah, we know he's kind of a bad guy. He's a kick-ass fighter. He's good with a lightsaber. He's good at organizing other bad people. But I don't think we really understood just his level of intelligence, cunning, understanding of galactic events. Like I said, he knew more than fucking Yoda. So, Nick, the question here for this moment, is this peak Maul from a purely writing perspective?
I think it is. Like, this is the moment where, like, obviously leading to this, and we didn't, like you said, like, we haven't really seen a lot of, like, number 7 yet. The formation of the Shadow Collective is going to be the crux of what Shadow Lord is. But so there's probably going to be a lot of, like, intelligent machinations that happen within that. But up to what we've seen so far, this is definitely the moment where you realize, like, oh, like, Maul's just not some, like, he's not just this, like, bravado type of character that's taken over Mandalore by combat and, things like that. Like, he's highly intelligent. He understands not only what's happening to the galaxy, but what that means for him moving forward, right? Like, he knows that if the vice grip of the galaxy starts to close through the Empire, and there is, Darth Vader and Palpatine out there, that things are going to become more difficult for him as well. So he's like, look, it's not just that, like, I don't want Palpatine to win and take over the galaxy. Like, I understand how this is going to impact me long term. So it really showed a side of Maul that we hadn't seen before. And then you add in, like you mentioned, some of the best, like, animated lightsaber motion capture we've ever seen before. And not some of the best. Like, it's a moment for Maul that really sticks out to me, because it's the end of his second act, right? Like, his first act was from when we met him in TPM to when he gets resurrected, but he gets, like, he goes through the whole Night Sisters, gets his legs back. To me, that's like act 1. And then act 2 is like when he starts to build the Shadow Collective up until this moment where he's arrested at the end of the Siege of Mandalore, obviously escapes. And then his act 3 is really like that focused, absolute madness. Kenobi, gotta get Kenobi. So this moment here is just peak to me. It's Maul at the height of his intelligence that we've seen thus far, and that's what really makes him a dangerous criminal.
You nailed it there. Like, this is his brightest moment, I think. He ultimately fails and gets away. But, as we know, and when we pick things up, which is now going to be after Shadow Lord's events, we see that he also allowed some of his demons to come back in and really consume him to the point where he was dispatched within 3 moves by a geriatric-looking Kenobi in the desert. But like Nick talked about, and we've said a few times, Shadow Lord hopefully is going to show him return to his crime lord aspirations, if not the full-on ascent to the head of Crimson Dawn. And that is our 9th moment here. That reveal in Solo. No one saw this coming. I mean, all we heard about Solo was it was a fucking disaster to shoot. We needed 35 directors to get through it. It was going to suck. People were going to boycott it anyways because of The Last Jedi. And right towards the tail end of the movie, when you kind of, Miller time. Everything's good to go. Kiera can now leave Crimson Dawn and be with Han. And nope, we see that she kind of had her own intentions. She gets that cipher from Dryden, plugs it into that ship's console. And who do we see pop up there? Mr. Crime Lord Maul himself. And this is the Maul I think Shadow Lord is going to show us, or how he becomes this Maul. But it was a great reveal. I know it was done through a hologram, but we learned that Maul is no longer just Shadow Collective guy. He has taken over one of the biggest and maybe one of the most sinister and effective crime syndicates in Crimson Dawn. We get the lightsaber reveal. For casual fans of Star Wars, it was probably shocking. For people like Nick and I, it was like, you know what? This kind of validates this dude's importance in the overarching Star Wars saga. So, with that being said, this coming in at number 9 and Maul's top 10 greatest moments, Nick, do you feel like Lucasfilm just royally dropped the ball, not following up on this reveal immediately with like a Solo 2, or maybe that's when they dropped Shadow Lord?
Yeah, I really do. And we'll never know what really was going to happen here, right? Like, we never know, like, in a perfect world, how they plan to follow it up, because it does seem strange that this is one of the only real Star Wars moments that I can think of right now, and maybe they're just not coming to me, where they teed up something that big, and then it just never had any follow-up.
I think you're spot on, Nick, and you could add to it. They also teed up the initial meeting of Han and Jabba, and how Han becomes one of Jabba's, main delivery guys.
Yeah, and like that, in both of those in the Solo movie, again, like, obviously, people were saying this before it came out, like, you've been doing these December releases, they've been going well, you've been hitting $1 billion for every release. Like, even Rogue One, which was also a spinoff, was a December release. Like, people were like, why May? Like, what is the point? Like, obviously, we heard at some point that they didn't want to move the Mary Poppins release out of December. They wanted to keep that there. And if that's the real reason, then like, what a shocker. But like,
yay, Bob Iger.
Yeah, like, it's one of those things where it's like, you could not have made a movie that asked for a sequel or some sort of follow-up more. And then
it wrote itself, right, Nick? It wrote itself.
Yeah. It was literally like, it was right there in front of you. Like, you already had most of the second movie written in the first movie. It's like, okay, the Jabba meetup is going to happen. This is where he dumps the shipment that he has for Jabba. That's what we hear about in A&H. And then you have like Maul there now, and you're like, okay, good. We're gonna get into the Maul side, and we also have this other plot here with Jabba. Like, it was already there. And did they drop the ball? I mean, absolutely. I think they got scared, like, not surprising.
100%.
This was the first moment. I mean, well, TLJ was the first moment where they were like, oh shit, like, things can go wrong. Like, up to that point, like,
let's scrap our plans. Remember this? I mean, the Solo movie was the first of many planned A Star Wars stories that just, well, I guess Rogue One you could throw in there, but
Rogue One made that.
Even that's like kind of fundamentally tied to the trilogy still. This was, these Star Wars stories were supposed to be standalones or trilogy of a standalone for a particular character to tell particular stories. Yeah. And as Nick said, it happened, boycott, production issues, moving the schedule. Solo failed, and that's when the brass of Disney, the money-making guys, were like, okay, we're done with this shit. And Star Wars movies really have not been the same ever since.
Yeah, it is. There's a culture of fear in large studio Hollywood now. Like, it's unquestionable. Like, you can look at any large studio that's working with franchise films, and there is 100% fear in the room at all times, because those types of movies, Star Wars movies, Marvel movies, DC movies, are purely based off of what the box office number says. Like, it doesn't matter what people think about it. It doesn't matter what critics think about it. It is a movie that cost upwards of $250 million to make. And if you don't make 3 times that, then you failed. So I can see why, there have not been a lot of Star Wars movies since then. I can also see why, like, you've seen a slowdown in general across all of these really big tentpole films. It's like, anything that you can do wrong, even if you don't think that you've done it wrong, people will yell about, and people will yell about it loudly online, because that's all that people do now. So do I think they dropped the ball? Yeah, but I also can see why they didn't want to be like, okay, well, everybody apparently hates this. It made the least money of any Star Wars movie ever released, period. Like, adjusted for inflation, it's not even close. Like, I can see why they didn't want to be like, okay, well, let's start filming Solo 2.
Yeah. We just lost a shit ton of money. Let's keep heaping that shit into the incinerator. We're making Solo 2, bitches.
So it's like from a narrative standpoint and from a fan standpoint like us, like, yeah, I'm super pissed that we didn't get follow up on it, because the follow up is going to be great, and now that follow up is going to be Shadow Lord.
There we go.
But it's like, if I like am working at Disney and I'm not even like an executive, I'm like an accountant that's like, how much money did we lose?
Nick shutting it down from his cube. Hey, boss, this is our outlook on Solo 2. We're going to lose $1 billion. We're like, okay,
like we're going to lose $487 million.
Cancel.
Then the question no longer becomes like, all right, how fast do we start the script for the second one? The question now becomes like, holy shit, what the fuck happened?
Let's start a TV network and TV shows, because that's ultimately what ended up happening. All right, let's get back to the countdown here. We've made it all the way to number 10, and this is a doozy moment. All right, this is Maul from Rebels. We're talking about the Twin Sons episode in particular. We had the scream, Kenobi! That's iconic. We had the confrontation between him and his nemesis, Old Ben. We had the 3-move duel, because Kenobi was so wise and reflective at this point in time, where Maul was still driven by his anger and hate for the guy that cut him in half. But I think more importantly, and what stands out to most people and, fans like myself and I'm assuming Nick, was the final few words, or the exchange between these once great enemies. But you have Kenobi literally holding him. I don't want to say caressing him, but holding him in his arms like a fallen friend. No different than Qui-Gon Jinn, in fact. And, Maul asks, like, just tell me, are you protecting the chosen one? And Obi-Wan reveals, like, yes, I am. And that's, more or less why you had to die. But then Maul says he will avenge us. So you see Maul die in Kenobi's arms, and he's not the screaming, raging lunatic anymore. His senses have finally come back to him again. He finally is understanding, like, okay, the Force is taking care of itself. The Force is going to figure this out. And this guy that I hated and devoted my entire existence to killing has embraced me and has assured me that, don't worry, I got you. I got you, buddy. Yeah. So this is 100% the most poetic death in Star Wars. You could probably argue Anakin's death at the end of Return of the Jedi is another one that has a very poetic feel to it. So, Nick, do you feel Maul's death in Rebels and Twin Suns, is this the most emotionally satisfying villain death in Star Wars canon?
Such a hard question, because there is that like obvious, like you said, Anakin at the end of ROTJ looking into the eyes of his son, like finally, like in those last moments of life, not being Darth Vader for the first time in years, decades. And I feel like that was the most emotionally satisfying, because you get to see somebody very similar to Maul, tortured soul for decades, and a person that's life just shifted so much because of his involvement with the Sith. But when talking about this moment with Maul, it really is a perfect, like, full circle type of moment. Like it's the thing that, like, after his failure to convince Ahsoka that they need to go put an end to the Emperor, hey, we need to do that, like we need to stop this. I think that he just lost it. Like he had built up such a huge cachet of like influence and of successes with the Shadow Collective and everything going on Mandalore and stuff like that, that this, like, losing everything again broke him. And I think that the unlikely hero in the story of Maul being Obi-Wan Kenobi was such a perfect moment to close it out on. Like, I really don't see a better way for his story to close than how it happened. Right. I know that, like, some people think that the duel was kind of shitty and things like that. But it's it's like the ultimate encapsulation and full circle type of moment, where it's like he's so rage filled, just like he was in TPM, that like he makes the same mistake. Like he makes the same move, and ultimately that's his mistake. And yeah, the compassion with which Obi-Wan had in that moment, acted with in that moment, was truly touching. Like it really was. When you look at, like, in terms of poetic deaths, like to become essentially reconciled with your lifelong nemesis on your deathbed, and to go peacefully into that moment with those two like that, it really was just
I think anyone, even
moment.
Us real people, not fake people like these guys, I think anyone would love to have that on their deathbed, to like fully let go of all the bullshit from your life. And for Maul, it solely was Obi-Wan. And, it's a little easier than some of us humans that may have other regrets that we want to make up for. But yeah, I mean, it's a great moment. I think we could keep him at number one, because Maul was always a villain. Vader is different. Vader was a good guy, then a bad guy, and then a good guy for a little bit, then he died. So I guess we could throw that caveat in there to give Maul's death the best for a villain in Star Wars. All right, Nick, so we made it through the 10 greatest Maul moments. Now, to wrap up the segment, let's go ahead and rattle off our personal top three. Starting with you, you're going to go 3, 2, 1. So at number three for Nick, he's got the moment we just talked about, right?
Yeah. This moment here, like my moments kind of fall in like the different phases of his life. This is obviously the end phase of his life, but it also, like, in one scene, it shows you all of the aspects of Maul that we got to know through his entire run, right? You get to see the animalistic, crazed version of Maul that we saw in, at the end of TPM, when he first kind of puts himself back together in Clone Wars, like this just pure ball of hatred and anger and violence. Then you get to see this serene, well thought out Maul that we get to see more in the second act of his life, when he's working towards the Shadow Collective, and he's building this empire around him. Like when the duel is finally over and he's laying there, and like that animalism falls away, and you get to see that like clarity of thought from Maul. So you really like you get to see a lot of his emotional journey that he took over decades just in those final few moments of his life. So that's what I really like about it.
Amen. All right, Nick's number 2 Maul moment then is the Siege of Mandalore duel.
Yeah, Siege of Mandalore. This is the one where it's like it's the end of his act 2, like I mentioned earlier. It's when he is probably written the best, like we talked about here, but it was also when you realized like this character has more than just like a fast talking, powerful aura about him. He's deeply intelligent and he's deeply committed to this like what he thinks is like his savior moment. Is like, I'm trying to save the galaxy, like, and you guys don't see it. And like to see him not just approach Ahsoka with like a, you're in my way, I'm here to kill you so I can do what I need to do. Like to really see that like, not only are you a part of this story, Ahsoka, you are an integral part of this story. And if you can just hear me out on this, we can fucking fix this before the whole world turns to absolute shit. Like it's one of the best written character arcs in Star Wars animated like history, I think. And it could stand with some of the best moments in live action as well. Like I really think that the Siege of Mandalore arc was just top tier
stuff. Fantastic stuff. And Nick's number 1 Maul moment of all time, the Theed Hangar battle, Duel of the Fates, as we'll call it.
Yes, Duel of Fates. Like I mentioned when we were first talking about it, this is the moment that changed Star Wars history. Just in terms of like the way that we perceive, or the way that like what we expect from Star Wars lightsaber battles, and then also like to show Star Wars villainy in a very different way that we've seen it before. Like all through the original trilogy, you look at Star Wars villains as like, oh, look, you got this like wrinkly old human, and then you have this other wrinkly old burned human that's in this suit. So it's like the face of evil in Star Wars was always very like old white guy. That's kind of what it was.
Yeah. Old white guy.
Old white guy. And you know what? That's often the face of evil in real life. But still, like you go into TPM.
Nick, that's why we need to take back masculinity. God damn it.
Yeah.
White men have not been treated well recently.
But I think that like you get introduced to a guy who changes the way that the visual perception of Star Wars is. Like he just becomes like this absolutely beloved iconic villain in such a short amount of time, and then it also sets up everything that comes after it, right? Like the ferocity in which he fought during the Duel of Fates is the ferocity with which he undertook everything that he ever went after. Like it persisted, that persisted through his life. So yeah, I mean, for me, it's really like those 3 moments fully encapsulate Maul's character. It's like the introduction, the moment where he like his act 2 ending moment where he has the answers, nobody listens to him. And then that final moment at the end where it's like he comes to peace after decades and decades of pain and anguish. It was just, yeah, those are my 3.
All right. Well, spoiler alert. Matt's top 3 is very similar to Nick's top 3. So great minds do think alike here at the SWTF. But my number 3 is the Siege of Mandalore duel. I mean, Nick did a great job kind of summing all these up, so there's not much for me to share here. But it isn't just Maul's physical ability that makes this a great moment. As Nick said, it was really getting insights into how his mind works and how connected he was to the galaxy at large, and how, as I said earlier when we were talking about this moment in the top or the 10 moment list, it just, I mean, he had his shit together, at least from being able to see what was happening in the galaxy more than the whole Jedi Order. So that just goes to show you like how big of a strategist, tactician, and kind of ear to the Force type of guy Maul was. So that was my number 3. My number 2 is the death of Maul during Twin Suns. Again, it brings his arc to a close finally. And as Nick said, I think Nick is right. There are 3 acts of Maul. There's Animal Maul and TPM. There's the rise of Maul throughout the Clone Wars and soon to be Shadow Collective, and parts of and then there's like Act 3 in Rebels where we see Maul again kind of in a frantic state. His passion for revenge has consumed him again, so much so that hopefully we find this out in another multiple seasons of Shadow Lord, but he leaves his seat of power. He literally becomes so iconic in the crime syndicate world that he rises to the top of Crimson Dawn. He's the guy. But for whatever reason, the thoughts of revenge and Kenobi keep eating at him, so much so that he leaves that seat of power for Kiera to kind of rise and take it over. He goes out looking for Sith holocrons to help him track down the location of Kenobi. He uses the Ghost Crew, Ezra in particular, and he finally finds him, and you think he's going to get his rocks off, and he tries the same moves, lose, and then realizes finally as he's dying, like, oh shit, this is how it's all meant to be. So a fantastic moment, and as we said, one of the best deaths, if not the best death in Star Wars. And then number 1, just like young Nick, how can you not say that this was the moment that solidified Maul as a forever Star Wars character? Even if he was never resurrected, people would still point back to this moment as one of the coolest Star Wars moments of all time, and that's his Duel of the Fates appearance, fight, and subsequent kick-ass shit that we saw Ray Park do with a bow staff. So there you go. That's Matt and Nick's top 3 individual Maul moments of all time, and then our list of his greatest 10 moments in chronological order. Hopefully you dug it. Hopefully you agree with us. If not, we don't care. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this episode. We close out every episode of Star Wars Time Show with a little thing we call the fan segment. It's a bit revamped these days just because we're trying to keep things streamlined. So we just have our top 5 honorees to worship here, to mention and to shower praise upon. So if you want to get mixed up in the top 5, this is all done through Instagram. Use hashtag Star Wars Time Show, but more importantly, do ad tag at StarWarsTime.show on all your Star Wars fan art type of content. It could be toy photography, traditional art. We may even allow AI art, it's taken over the world anyways. We might as well keep the machines happy. All you got to do, though, to be considered for the top 5, like I said, is ad tag at StarWarsTime.show. And then the type of show we're having that week will dictate who is picking. This week, thank goodness, Nick is the crowner of the top 5. Nick, so who is your first honoree?
Yes, this week's first in the top 5 is Mr. Jedi, Mr.Jedi on Instagram. And Mr. Jedi gives us, it's just like these wartime photos, these Clone Wars wartime or, type of photos. I mean, this is from Imperial days. You can tell from the outfits, but
Brothers in
Mr.
the Dust,
Jedi's,
as he titles it. Brothers in the Dust.
Brothers in the Dust. So you see two scout troopers down, one of them dead in the arms of his brother in arms sitting there. Very, very similar pose to what Maul had laying in the arms of Kenobi at the end of his life. And then you see some of the other stormtroopers there in the background as well. This is kind of what we were given in Clone Wars. I mean, is to show the plight of the actual, like on the ground troops sometimes. And this is what happens. It's the reality of war, right? People die, even though they were clones. These are real people with real lives and real people that care about them. So these shots are always really cool to see, these on the battlefield shots from Mr. Jedi on Instagram.
Bingo.
So good stuff there. Next up, this is the guy we've been talking about. This is from Meridian Turtle.
Hey, look at
that. On
Kismet.
Instagram, we see. Yes, indeed. We see Maul here in all his glory, whipping his dual-bladed red saber, red eyes, with this nice little kind of moon in the background. I mean, just showing off the sideshow Maul in a really nice light here.
Yeah, good
is
work here. I kind of like the muted colors, and it just you can't go wrong with a Maul's Hot Toys. So this is Meridian Turtle HT on Instagram.
That's right. Next up, we got B Dixon Photo. B Dixon Photo is giving us a fun little shot here of Rex coming through. It looks like does this look like it almost kind of looks like the Jedi Temple a little bit, but I don't think it is. But it's just, you see Rex
kicking ass, taking names, blowing shit up.
Exactly. Big explosion.
This is phase 1 Rex too.
Phase 1 with the big fin still going on. Yeah, this is phase 1 Rex. Walking away from an explosion like all cool guys do. Always great to do that. And then, I mean, good set pieces here. You got the 2 boxes kind of exploding up towards the front. And then you get the big fireball there in the back. Always cool to see Rex walking away from an explosion like a cool guy.
We love blowing shit up, especially when it's in Star Wars toy photography. So good work here from B.Dixon Photo on Instagram.
That's right. Next up, we have Jedi Temple shots, Jedi_Temple_shots. This is a Lego shot here. It's very, very very atypical of what we usually see from some of the Star Wars toy photography. Very like floral images here. Like you see a Jedi. Is this supposed to be Anakin, or is this just like a different Jedi that's
I think this is open here.
Yeah, I think it's maybe like a specific story that's being told by Jedi Temple shots.
Yeah, they're calling him Ethron, I guess. Yeah, so this is during the Clone
Ethron
Wars.
Knox.
Yeah,
but just standing amongst a very beautifully lit floral background, looking distantly off. Probably thinking about his time in the Clone Wars, his battlefield moments. And if you click over to the next slide, you get to see some Jedi Temple Padawans out here as well, taking in all of the flora that's around them. Maybe they're on Felucia with all these big plants and things like that. But it's just not something that we typically see from Star Wars photography, right? Like the more serene, beautiful side.
Yeah, you gotta like the purple hues they went with here, and both of us are always fans of Lego photography. It's still one of my favorite type of toys to be shot by the community. So good work here from Jedi_Temple_shots on the gram.
That's right. And to close out the top 5 this week, we have the toy enthusiast giving us
Yoda and Anakin taking a dump. That's kind of
exactly.
But you all right? Go ahead, set it up.
Yeah. Scene recreation here from Rots, the moment where Anakin is asking Yoda about these future premonitions that he's having and all of these things, and Yoda gives him the line of like, oh, it's future's cloudy. Don't worry about anything. You'll be fine. There's no darkness around us.
Sure.
Like
dark side doesn't exist. Fuck them.
Dark side. Like there. Maybe a little darkness clouding here and there. Some rain in the forecast. But I thought it was a cool setup here. You get this kind of this 2-shot here of Yoda and Anakin, and then if you scroll through, you see the individuals. But it's a turning point moment for Anakin, right? Like Anakin feels like. He's like, this is the grand master of the Jedi Order.
Yeah, maybe he can help me.
Is wrong.
Maybe he can help me with these dreams. But no, Yoda's like, hey, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, Yoda's like, what? You future? Get out of here, kid. Like,
we don't believe in that. So, he did the same thing he did to Dooku. Dooku's like literally waving lights in front of his face, like, hey, man, the darkness is rising again. Look how corrupt the Senate is. What's going on here? I think the Sith return. Yoda's like, you think too much.
Huh?
Yeah, shut the fuck up. Where's Mace Windu? See ya.
Get out of here. So good scene set up here. Recreation of that iconic Rots moment from the toy enthusiast on Instagram. That is the end of our top 5, and that is the end of our show for this week. So Matt, go ahead and close us out.
All right, party people. Maybe we'll try to do some Maul talk over the next few weeks, just to keep him in the spotlight as we get ready for the release of Shadow Lord, dropping was that April 6th or something like that. But we should be getting the first comic of the prequel series that's going to help tee up Maul's soon-to-be released animated show, so I'm sure myself and young Nick will definitely talk about those on an upcoming episode of the Star Wars Time show. So, what does that mean for you? Well, it means if you're not already subbed, go ahead and sub to the channel. It doesn't cost you a thing, just a click of the button. But if you want to throw a little cash our way, support the channel, support the nonsense we talk about every week, get those shorts released every day, go ahead and look at that join channel button down there. Consider becoming a channel member for as low as $1.99 a week. You'll see here, we'll instant premiere this bad boy. We'll have the fans in there chatting. They get a nice little Vader cat emoji next to their name. Plus, they have access to custom SWTS emojis like a beer drinking Grogu or a xenomorph that is a Sith, Tic Tac Thrawn. You never know. Consider becoming a channel member. But like we said, even a sub goes a long way for the SWTS crew. All right, people. You let them know about the good words spoken on this show. Pass it around. Leave a comment. Leave a like. Tell a friend. Tell an enemy. Tell your mom. Tell your dog. There's always time for Star Wars time. And if you listen to our nonsense, the Force will be with you always.